Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the only podcast in India where we bring a new founder on every episode to talk about their journey and their story of building a company. And today we have with us Sooraj Vasudevan, who is the founder and CEO of Tejas Networks, which provides networking, telecommunication, and cybersecurity solutions to enterprises and governments. Hi, Sooraj. Welcome to ELI.
Hey, hi, Priya. Thank you for having me here. It's super cool. Glad to be here. Thank you so much for your time.
It's also our pleasure to have you on our platform. To start with, would love to hear about your background, a little bit about your early life, like where were you born and brought up, where did you study, which all areas, domains, and projects have you worked on over the years prior to founding Calculus?
Sure, Priya. Yeah, that's a good way to start this. So, see, I come originally from Kerala, from
Mm-hmm.
Kochi, to be precise. Right.
Okay.
So, I did my master's in physics. That was the exit point from the state. So, I did my master's in physics with specialization in condensed matter physics from Cochin University of Science and Technology. Right. So,
Oh.
from there, we went to IIT Delhi for my again second master's in optoelectronics, and that's where the whole a spark of entrepreneurship happens, right? So you interact with a lot of people who really want to make a change around you, right? So I was fortunate to have a great team around me. They just right from your academic days, you start kind of inculcating a sense of ownership and entrepreneurship from that particular environment, right? So that really helped. From IIT Delhi, I joined Tejas Networks. I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
Tejas is a big thing now, right? But at that point in time, in 2005, Tejas was a evolving or very happening hot startup, right? So it was probably the first uh, high-tech product from India, in the B2B segment for sure. So they
Mm-hmm.
used to make hardware, they do still make, no? So I was hired by Tejas, and it was as I told, right? It was a very small system at that point in time, very much a startup. And the management team there, they really had the culture of enabling the the candidates or like the employees from like grassroots level, right? It was very much like my own company. Each one of us thought it's our own company. We believed in that, and they gave us the chance to explore the world and send us to different parts. Like we all went with a mission to conquer that particular market, right? And remember, like Tejas being a very niche startup in telco hardware space. Like we used to take on with all these biggies like say Huawei, Sienna, whoever in the name, right? So all these very well established Alcatel, Nortel global companies. We used to be competing against them, going into international markets. Uh, so I would say like say the management team which they just had, led by Sanjay Naik, like very ambitious set of people. So they literally kind of helped us inflame the entrepreneurs part which we already had, right? So each one of us, I think each one of us in Tejas were treated like a stakeholder in the company that literally cultivated the next level of ownership in us, right? So that was a very important milestone. And incidentally, I was given a market of Mexico City is where I landed in 2008 as part of the global business expansion for Tejas. Mexico was a very unique geographically like located position. For example, like it had NAFTA, which helped us to develop business for North America, even though technically Mexico is also part of North America, right?
Okay.
So Spanish-speaking country in the North American belt. So the NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement between US, Mexico, and Canada was explored, and we started developing good, like very scalable business for Tejas based out of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Further down, Latin America also was explored, and over a period of like say 5 to 6 years, America became a very successful market for Tejas, right? So we had a lot of wins there, and that over a period of time, like that became kind of the epicenter for our global branding, I would even say, right? So that's something which added a lot to our learning and our development in terms of learning, talking to different people, talking to different cultures. So somebody who joined from academics directly to a probably the most happening Indian startup. That was more like a evolution, right? So, and I'm sure like a lot of my colleagues at that point in time, they have the same story to tell, right? So most of them are entrepreneurs right now. Like I think almost all of them are super successful in their like career and life. So Tejas was probably, I would say, after IIT Delhi, the second milestone happened through Tejas and how we became part of the journey, how the senior management, how the leadership team of Tejas made us navigate the journey along with them, not in terms of letter and also in spirit to be part of their success, right? So that was the second most important thing. So what happened is after that, like I tried to be part of a startup in India along with some friends, which did not work out, unfortunately. Then I had to come back to Mexico, right? So that's where I belonged to. That's where the roots were in terms of my connectivity, in terms of where I learned doing business, right? From a hardcore techie and evolving into like a more of a business a development person, right? That happened in Mexico for me personally, at least. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where the ecosystem which I was very comfortable with. So that's when I started calculus in 2016, right? So the calculus uh, started as a distribution house for a lot of technology companies, like, and we started providing solutions to telcos, telecommunication companies, ISPs, right? So AT&T, including AT&T Mexico, Total Play. So most of the largest telcos in Latin America, they started buying our products or solutions, right? So that's how the journey started. And a lot of people ask me why Mexico. So Mexico, incidentally, it started because of the journey I had with Tejas. And since B2B business, right, it's all about your network, it's all about your connections, it's all about the trust you build in an ecosystem, right? So Mexico happened to be, I was fortunate enough to have that kind of a market to work with. Mexico is very similar to India, by the way, huh? Not only
Yeah, I
from,
heard that.
yeah, so whether it is food, whether it is culture, whether it is like the way of doing business, it's very organic that way. It is very trust oriented market.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, business you need to be like having certain attributes wherever you go, right? But still, that is a market where you really get a chance, right? Even as a niche player, even as a new player, they give you a chance. They take the first risk as a customer or as a partner. So I think that got me started. And since I already had a sense of belonging there, certain credentials built during my Tejas days, it was more of a smooth starter for me as part of the entrepreneurial journey also, right? So what we started there was like a distribution house or an ecosystem where we used to bring products, very cost competitive products, like non alternative to like say the Chinese technology, which was not really being accepted by US those days. Uh, and we got alternatives to the North American market, right? So very cost competitive, like very very well qualified products into the market, which was not really like common those days, especially like I'm talking about like 10 years back, right? So that's something which got us in the right pedestal, and yeah, I would post there. Yeah.
Got it. You mentioned about your transition from being a techie to a business stakeholder. If you are going to start a company, you have to have some sort of selling skills. Can you tell about that transition? Like, what are the difficulties that you have faced along the way? Because these are completely different skill sets altogether. So
Oh,
how?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm, I am so happy that you asked that question, Priya. See, uh, I think let me be very honest here, right? So I joined my first employer again, Tejas, as one of my as one of their support engineers, right?
Hmm.
So even if I call myself deep tech, like I was not an engineer who used to write code there. I was not somebody who was testing their products or anything, but I used to be like given the responsibility to go and get the products accepted by the customer in the field, right? So it's the real grind on the field, right? And uh, deep tech in the sense like I come from a very intense physics background. I love solving differential equations. Feynman lectures is still what I read for, for my stress burst or whatever you call it. So I, from a physics point of view, I'm like a techie, but I wouldn't call I'm an engineer who has real life problem solved like in like say naturally at that point in time. I was mostly into theoretical things. I was mostly into problem solving on a piece of paper, stuff like that. No, so but what happened is what life does to you is like say those skills I did not even acquire out of IIT. I should admit, right? So I did well there. I got a good job in this particular venture, Tejas. But what Tejas did to me is like literally push me out of my comfort zone, right?
Mm,
So I had see the what happens to you once you are good in science or once you enjoy sciences, that gives you a sense of structured metrics. Like you start approaching any problem. It doesn't have to be only in your work or academics. Even in life, you know, you have a path to follow. You have like a very structured way of solving or approaching your situations in life. So
mm,
that was there. That was probably the only capital. But what they just did is that's the only thing I had. They just kind of threw me in front of customer adequately trained, they empower you, they enable you, but again, you are on your own, right? So that's what the real entrepreneur journey is. Basically, you need leaders who can take risk on you. That's what they just did at that point in time. So they really took risk on a select few people, youngsters, all in their early or mid 20s, and then we picked up. So it's all about like how do you learn swimming without a trainer, right? But that is still possible. You just need to kind of put that extra grind, extra time. You still learn swimming. If, for example, if you ask many of your uh, great grandfathers or whatever, they don't even remember who taught them swimming, but they did learn
yeah.
it, right? They can swim. So we know like we go to a gym, you have a trainer, you have a teacher, whatever you call, but a lot of things can be picked up naturally. So
Mm,
that's what some of the Indian startups had probably 25 years back as a quality, right? So they push you, they kind of give you the tools, they are
mm,
very reasonable, they empower you, and more than that, they lead by example. So exactly, that's what we are trying to do in our system also right now. So the delta which I had evolving from a techie to probably a business personality is probably thanks to that particular journey, right? So it's all about how you can get out of your comfort zone, and that happens when you don't have options, right? So you just need to make things happen. Again, and when you deal with technology, it's not like any other field, right? You have to make it happen in such a way that the customer accepts your technology. You're not going to buy a car or you're not going to buy a laptop unless you're fully convinced, right? So, and it's B2B business, it's not even B2C. So, you, like as a company, you have to convince stakeholders in another company to buy your product, your solutions, and you're competing with very, very tough global market where Chinese has the price advantage, like say Europeans or Americans have the state of the technology, and there we were with a product from India, an innovation story from India, trying to convince people, give us a chance, give it a shot, and see how it goes. No, so I think those that evolution happens quite naturally if you grab your opportunity with the right spirit. That's what I would say. Uh, I'm actually thinking about it when you ask me this question. So like that's good to know. Like so, basically, like a lot of these things you don't really do plan. It's one of those things which happens to you as long as you enjoy the journey, right?
mm,
Priya.
mm. Speaking about Tejas Network, I think this is interesting because I've heard many similar stories when you join a great startup, work with great people, innovators, you also tend to pick that skill, and a lot of more entrepreneurs come out of a startup like that. This has happened to probably you would have heard about Tiger Cubs, the PayPal mafia, and many such stories in Silicon Valley where even Apple and Microsoft also came out of a similar path. Having said that, can you tell us about your company Calculus? What are the product services that you are dealing with currently?
That's right, sure. So I think what we do is like, see, let me start with a disclaimer, right, Priya? So technology is a commodity, basically, these days. That's
Mm,
what AI and all these things have done to the world right now, right? So the time of launch of a particular technology to the time it becomes a commodity, it is like very, very short these days. No? So for example, like the life cycle of a new product or a new technology or even like a new application, anything is like quite uh, significantly less because like that is at the pace at which innovation is happening, be it AI, be it any field, for example, right? So even if you're in a business of making coffee, like selling coffee, right? So like how do you mix, like how do you kind of brew, how do you where do you start? It's all about innovating on your product and your business model. And you really need to always put yourself onto the shoes of the customer and do those things. So now, the reason I mentioned this is, as a company, we are a tech house, and we are more of a system integration. For example, the example which we give to our team and even to our partners or investors is like, we aspire to be the Starbucks in tech system integration, right? So what Starbucks does is basically, I'll come to specifically what the products we offer. But again, what Starbucks does is, yeah, obviously you get coffee or whatever you want there, no? So you can pick up a drink from the menu, but what they really offer you is like an experience,
Mm,
right? So basically, like, there are enough places you can grab a coffee, but you still go to that kind of a brand, that kind of a place where you can sit and talk with your customer or with your partner or whatever, right? So they offer that space. But again, like, they might not even harvest their own coffee, right? So they buy coffee from some farmers, probably in, say, Mexico or Guatemala or Ethiopia. They get probably the glass from China, maybe then the sleeves from India, they get the straw from Indonesia. What I'm trying to say is, like, they do integrate and offer an experience to the customer. So what we do is something very similar. And before I get into what we do, like, we are building the whole system in such a way that, like, we keep a premium factor, right? So what we do is that that's how we kind of just stay on top from the whole commoditized technical layer when it comes to system integration. See,
mhm,
if you have your own IP story, if you have write your own piece of code, if you have your own hardware, that kind of an innovation, like, you build your valuation around that, you go become a unicorn, whether it is in e-commerce, whether it is like a particular app or whatever, right? What we are is, like, we are more like a, like, say, more of a technology contractor to our customers. Now we help customers take the right, when I say technology contractor, it encompasses helping him take the right decision, whether it is a particular technology, whether it is a particular vendor, whether it is a particular upgrade, evolution, all those things, strictly in the domain of networking. And it can be telecommunication, it can be data center, and it can be cybersecurity, right? So these are the three areas we operate on. We understand networking, we understand really the nitty-gritty details of networking, and we solve problems for our customers, right? We don't try to sell a particular product, we don't sell out of a catalog, we are not a classical reseller of a particular product or a technology. So what we do is, we integrate products, we integrate problems, I would say, and come up with something very unique for the customer. And, like, for example, right? So for like, even in personal life, right? So who do you share your problems with? You share your problems with someone who you trust, basically, right? So it can be a friend, it can be a cousin, it can be your father, whoever that is, right? So that is very much similar in B2B business, especially for a company of our size and nature. The customers share their problems, that becomes an opportunity, that becomes a project, and that becomes business, right? So that's the way we work. We are vendor agnostic.
mhm.
We are not locked down to a particular vendor. We take a holistic view of exactly what is needed for a customer's network transformation or business transformation effectively, and we bring a value onto the table based on that. So at this point, what we do, again, I was trying to kind of give you a template why we are relevant, because technology is commodity. Companies who sell technology products are like operating on bare minimum margins now, getting into those kind of challenges, right? So it's a very, very, like, I would like, yeah, like, it's a market where, like, everybody is there, for example. So you and go and talk about AI. Everybody knows about AI, right? So how those things are, say, when you go and do ChatGPT, when you go to Chrome, like, it's so easy to use some of these things. It's so easy to use a smartphone, but what makes it easy? There is a lot of tough job done behind the scenes by people who really want to make a change to end users experience, right? So, and they need tools, basically. The people who make like a great like perfectly tasting pizza, they need a lot of ingredients, they need a lot of tools, they need a lot of support. So that's where we come into picture. So we enable things for people to make B2C products, right? So for example, whether it is a telecom company who launch a particular new product, like somebody who can offer even cybersecurity to a retail user on his cell phone, or somebody who can, like, kind of ensure that, like, your privacy is totally respected, at the same time you have access to the global market. So it's a very wide horizon which we are trying to kind of get into. The problem is, everywhere there is a competition. Now, good thing about what is happening right now, and you would relate to it, Priya, since you are from the same ecosystem. say 30 years back, your entertainment, your content was locked to a device or a room or whatever. No? So you used to go and watch Doordarshan, right? So good old days, we all used to watch Chitrahar or Rangoli, all those programs we used to watch, right? So, but everybody has to sit in the same place, look at the same device, access same content, and kind of that's the way world used to. Right now, as you can see, your content, your experience, everything is disconnected, everything is decoupled, so to say. You can have access to your Netflix from your mobile phone, from your tablet, from your iPad, or whatever you name it, right? Like basically, your content and your medium is kind of totally disconnected right now.
Mhm.
It's all decoupled. So what is effectively what has happened is the whole technology landscape used to be dominated by supply chain, like physical hardware supply chain. So what India has done to the world in the last 30 years is it disrupted this ecosystem. A lot of things are driven by software, almost like the whole changes are brought in by software. Hardware just has become a placeholder right now,
Mm.
right? So like the real content is basically all software driven, and most of the software is written in India, like so to say, right? So that's where like we see an opportunity. See, if there is somebody who understands how to use an iPhone, there is somebody who understands how to take care of iOS, the operating system, there is somebody who understands how to operate an app, but there is hardly anyone. Again, I'm just giving you a real life example. Again, it's not one-on-one in a
Yeah.
B2B environment. Like when you look at the building blocks in providing this experience to the end user, there is hardly very few vendor agnostic people and who really put the customer's priority first and integrate and offer this as a solution to the customer. No? So like if the customer says, okay, I need, like say this particular vendor X, and I need this particular software.
Mhm.
And can you integrate, can you test, qualify, ship it to the end user, build and operate this network? That's where we come into picture. If somebody just wants to buy a particular product which is available in the market, we don't even attend those opportunities because that is going to be a price game. Our
Mm.
value addition comes in terms of how do we integrate multiple pieces, how do we really provide a, like if you just want a coffee, you just go to a regular store and drink, which is fine, no? So there are situations where you just need a normal coffee,
Mm.
but we come into picture when you really have to create very niche and specialized integrations, which probably is not like something very like naturally or organically available in the market. Sit with the customer, understand his problem, bring those system integration capabilities onto the table if needed, hire people if needed, like integrate if needed, outsource, be flexible to the business model and innovate based on that.
Got it.
That's what we do.
Uh, so integration, is it not a internal problem to solve? Like, let's say I'm, you gave example of iPhone, iOS, there are apps. So these are the different modules out there, and you have to connect all these things together. You being a company, is it not your job to do it internally instead of outsource that thing to another vendor like yours?
No, so again, I would probably give a little bit more clear example. Now, suppose a particular, no, like let's look at COVID, for example. Okay.
Mhm.
So what COVID did is obviously it changed the way we all live our life, changed the world forever. But from a business point of view, our again approach, like so what happened is it's an irreversible effect. Every household, every home started becoming an office.
Hmm.
Correct, no? So nobody could
Right.
step out. So the challenge which we faced that time, Priya, was like there was really not a capital being spent to build infrastructure on the street because
Hmm.
of very obvious reasons. No, so everybody was stuck to their home. We still have to work, obviously, right? So basically, every house started becoming a corporate office. Now, the broadband, the internet, which you get at your house, is not the same as you get in your office environment. You can just look at the bill you pay.
Yeah.
You pay 500, 600 rupees, whereas it is like much bigger, right? In a corporate environment. So there is a difference. Even though you call 100 meg bandwidth here and 100 meg bandwidth here, the quality of service, the quality of experience is very different, right? So now coming to your question, for example, just to give a more accurate example, the problem which we faced is the customer told us, Suresh, we don't have money to build new high capacity networks. We don't have money to put fiber on the street. We don't have money to put new towers because people can't even step out. We don't even know what is going to happen tomorrow.
Mm,
So how do we really maximize or optimize the like infrastructure which we have? So these are all like say probably millions of subscribers already onboarded,
mhm,
and for like they enjoy like residential broadband. We cannot hike their tariff right now because people are losing jobs. That is not a time where you can kind of up your game in terms of like the commercials. But at the same point, we really need to kind of take care of them. They really need to be able to deliver their work or like take care of their job sitting at home.
mm,
That is where like the whole thing changes. Like, how do we do? You cannot change the hardware because you cannot admit someone into your house, right? So you cannot go
mm,
and change hardware. You don't even have like let your own loved ones let in because you don't know what is happening. It was a very uncertain time. I'm giving you the worst case scenario, right? So what we did is we started talking to the vendors. For example, you take a sample, you talk to a telecommunication operator, not taking names because of NDA obligations. You
mhm,
talk to a customer, understand, okay, so this is the geographical zone where you want to optimize your network. You understand what technology is deployed there. You talk to the vendor, and there would be multiple vendors involved. Maybe there is one equipment sitting on your premise, but that is connected to probably some other vendor. All these things in real life, it is easy to maneuver or manipulate because like people, all multiple vendor engineers, all these guys work together through a coordination point, but it's not possible at this point. So everything has to be abstract. So that's when the whole virtualization started picking up. The software defined networking started literally becoming the need of the hour. So you really need to start optimize all the building blocks. You really need to maximize milk the last bit of capacity out of each of these technology pieces.
mm,
Working with multiple vendors, they wouldn't help each other for sure for obvious reasons. And because our customer is like the telecom provider, we really need to take care of their interest, work with the wider vendor ecosystem, deliver the right new designs at the abstract layer. Physically, nothing can be moved. You cannot even touch a cable. So that is when people really get pushed to innovate, right? I'm not telling we are the only guys who did this, but we were one of the very successful companies who put some of these things into practice and solved some very, very complex networking problems. For again, simply converting like your households to corporate environment in terms of the quality of internet you get without entering a premise, without touching a cable or a physical piece of equipment or anything, just doing like the logical redesigning. That was something like very niche to do, right? And what we did is even our uh, business got impacted because we were heavily dependent on supply chain. So what we did is we started innovating on our business model. So rather than becoming more like a hardware oriented build and operate networking company, we started diversifying into the field of services. So we started hiring a good set of engineers globally, follow
mm,
the sun almost in all time zones, and we started working with the OEM ecosystem. So at the end of the day, like what COVID did to us is like it pushed us again out of our comfort zone. We were very happily making our numbers in Mexico. We are a very successful local system integration company. But what COVID did is it pushed us out of that. Again, we still have a very successful unit running there now, but we started going global because we started hiring people in different parts of the world. We started opening entities in different parts of the world, starting to fulfill payroll obligations, but from there to kind of start expanding and replicate the success we had in Mexico in some of these new countries. So that's what like you innovate. There are two ways you innovate, right? So there is an incremental innovation which is part of your business journey every day, right? So every day
mm,
you go into the office, every Monday you come into the office, you have a plan, you brainstorm, you kind of come up with something new. That's a very natural process. But your radical innovation, like your disruption of your business happens when a situation comes and you don't have a choice and really have to, and that's when a lot of your instincts come into picture. I would say a lot of it actually, how much ever you talk to people, how much ever you discuss, debate, agree, disagree, at some point in time, you have to take a call. See how much you do a net practice, no? So at that point in time, when you take a shot, you have to take your shot. Nobody's going to tell you whether to
mm,
flick or whether to glance or whether to drive, whatever, right? So that's exactly the thing. The ability to take real-time decisions during difficult situations. That is something which, and again, if you get it right, and whether you get it right or not depends on whatever you have gone through in the last so many years, right? So where you come from, what you have been through, who enabled you, who empowered you, who taught you, who put you into trouble, even that matters, right? So all those learning, like in the blink of an eye, has to kind of happen, and you really need to take a very consolidated and Like, yeah, very difficult decision. So, especially for a company of our nature and size who are more into uh, contracting work. Like when I say contracting work, we are not into physical real estate or we are not an MEP company, but contracting in terms of inheriting customers' problem. You give us this problem, which for which he has to talk to 10 people and he talks to us. We talk to those 9 people behind and we ensure that like right solution is in place, right? And we build, implement and operate that solution also. So that's where we are right now. And again, as I told, right, the focus is right now in developing a global cybersecurity brand when it comes to offering services. We are also looking at developing our own IP. We are developing our own intellectual property right now. There is a different effort happening in that direction. That should really propel our valuation to the next level over next 1 year.
Got it. So, uh, is this a new big opportunity for IT industries like the system integration space? I am assuming that it's a very growing and expanding space to be in because if I remember correctly, there was a time when software used to be standalone inside a server, and they would probably cater to all functions of a company. You take example of SAP or Oracle. So they were designed in a particular way. They'll cater to every department out there, one software for all needs of an enterprise. Then came SaaS, solving very small problem in the best possible way, and that's how the requirement of system integration came in. Like every system has to talk to one another to deliver the best value for the company. And as the time progresses, the systems are becoming smaller and smaller, working in networks of each other. Every enterprise nowadays is using like 20, 30, 100 softwares, and they all are integrated to each other for different processes. So do you think this is going to be the new space where all the IT companies, all the technology companies would be moving towards?
Uh, Answer is yes. Again, but there is something which I would like to kind of comment on that, Priya. See, system integration has always been relevant, for IT or any technology for that. You need people to get things done. That's what a system integrator does. You just get things done for your customer, basically, right? And that's the most important thing in business. Like you can talk about whatever you have, you can bring products, you can do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, you need to get your things done. For example, you can make the best of pizza, but you need like a Swiggy guy to deliver that, right? So, like it's all about getting things done, getting things delivered with the right quality and at the right precision time. So that's what we do. So now there are like enough well-established heavy system integrators in the market. Not to take any names, right? There are big business groups who do system integrators. They also started as a startup over a period of last whatever 3 4 decades. They are now huge business groups. Right now, uh, what differentiates a company like Calculus would be like our ability to improvise. For example, the more you grow, your fat builds up, right? So you do not have the same kind of elasticity. So that same applies to business as well. So where we are right now, I would say yes. To answer your question, so this is an opportunity where we can make a real fortune. What you really need is focus, because what happens in system integration is, I'll tell you a real example is, we have also gone through this, so I can tell this with all conviction. What happens is, say, suppose you are in the business of selling this particular product, you are reselling the product. Okay, I buy this bottle of water, I put my margins, I offer AMC, and I sell this, right? Now it is very easy for me to get carried away on multiple angles. For example, somebody says, I my capacity is to sell 500 bottles. Somebody comes and gives me an opportunity for 1 million bottles.
Mm.
Now what happens? Okay, I understand how to sell water, but the skills you need, the capital you need, the platform you need to sell 1 million bottles of water is very different. So what happens is, before getting that platform ready, you run after investors, you run after people, you run after banks. Hey, I have an
Mm.
opportunity, can you fund this? It's a very organic problem. Trust me, we all go through this, right? So you get carried away. You think, okay, this is my thing. So this is what happens for a system integrator. It doesn't happen to an IP-driven company or an OEM, because they're very clear with their business roadmap. Again, even a system integrator is, I'm telling like, but it's an IP driven company or a software company or a hardware manufacturing company. It is very unlikely for them to get into this kind of short term or like say spotty forecasts and opportunities. Whereas a system integrator who is working with a particular radar, with a particular focus, no, he might come across like probably out of proportion opportunities or new products. So just because I know how to sell a bottle of water, that doesn't mean I can sell Coca-Cola, right? So we all like the real problem in system integration is unless you are very clear about like okay, this is all you want to do, you basically need to keep selling a product or a technology, resell, add your value in terms of services, keep growing that business. But if you have aspirations or if you're ambitious enough to really grow this to a more diverse, and again if you're looking at this business as an entry point to a wider horizon of developing your business to the next level, if you want to really be the next Reliance or Adani's or Infosys, no, so then what happens is like that you really need to have a set of people who keeps you grounded basically. Otherwise you like you start chasing opportunities, and I'm not talking about only business opportunities, no, you start chasing things which are probably real, but still you may not be there yet, right? So again, or they may not be ready to engage you. So qualifying opportunities, qualifying situations is probably the most important in a system integration business basically, right? So you really need to be able to punctuate your milestones, you really need to be able to like yeah, measure your risk, and a lot of these things kind of gets a little blurred and abstract during the process of your aspirations to grow, right? So for example, a software company, it's very unlikely for them to grow from like say just as an example, from a 100 rupees company to like $100 company to a like say $1 million company in 1 year. But a system integration business, it can potentially happen. You can clock contracts because it is organic. You can make things happen if you put the right, again, system integration, it's not only about putting the products together, it's only also about putting the people together. You understand the right customer point of contact, you understand the correct leverage, you have the right vendor backing you have somebody kind of offering you the financial assistance, you may hit a jackpot. But the problem is you really need people who can back you and help you take those decisions, look at it from a very realistic lens, through a lens, and take those decisions. No, so yes, the opportunity is there. Yes, there's a lot of money to be made. All
Mhm.
you need is laser focus, right? You just be focused, keep your milestones as crisp and clean as possible. Still, you might get carried away, right? How much ever you like, wow, so you are going to do this. Like, yeah, I'm going to take your okay, let me put it this way, you need the discipline you need to go to a gym every day. That is what you really need to run a system integration business. There
Mm.
is no other way, because every day there is something which is going to distract you from not going to the gym, right? Even though you know that's the right thing for you to do, but again, there might be just probably a very good looking glass of juice which just kind of screws your whole thing, no? So your rhythm is lost. So opportunities, partners, markets, news, everything kind of becomes the beauty about system integration business is you can improvise and create a business opportunity out of whatever comes to you. Obviously, relevant in your business canvas, I'm telling you. But the thing is, you like where you draw a line, where you really and you need to take help to draw that line, so trying to, as you grow, trying to minimize unilateral decisions, trying to be more consultative within the company, trying to take collective decisions and kind of do risk assessment, all those things as a group, as a team. I think that kind of helps you maximize the potential you have in this business, but the potential is definitely there.
Got it. How is AI playing out a role in this particular space? Is it being a disruptor with agentic AI come in? It's pretty good at. I've seen companies like SnapLogic, AWS Glue. They are using AI as a um, sort of enabler to build ETL solutions. Um, AI is pretty good at detecting breakage in the network. So sometimes the integrations break. AI is pretty good at diagnosing that. Uh, how is AI playing out for you?
Yeah, that's a very sensitive question. So again, to be very honest, we are all watching it, right? We are all part of it. So again, I'll talk from my angle actually, right? So because we don't make a product which is like associated with AI, right? So we use AI. We use starting. We are actually a beneficiary of AI because that helps us in like our BD, our lead qualification.
Mm.
So it again, before I say like as an entrepreneur, like as a user or as a customer, like or as just like any of you in the market, it is really helping us shape our business decisions. That is one thing. Now, when it comes to offering AI as a solution to the customer, so there are a few things which are happening. So again, first of all, we are quite deep rooted in where we are in terms of we do networks, we build and operate networks. We do that for telecommunication segment, we do that for data center segment, and we do that for like a cyber security segment, right? So keeping that as a constant, right? So we don't want to deviate out of the, we don't want to kind of go and build airports tomorrow, right? So that even if we have enough money, we would not do that. Like we are super focused in solving networking issues for our customer base. Now coming to AI. So AI is nothing but a tool for us at this point, right? What you're saying is like you're talking about, hey, you used to very real life example, like a normal life, layman example is like say, uh, you used to use your chalk and blackboard at some point in time. Now you have like basically a digital workboards, right? So that's what it has really brought onto the table for us. We are able to use these tools. There are two angles. We are able to use AI tools to help our customer build more robust solutions. This becomes a very unifying factor in our system integration story. So we need to up our skills. We need to understand what needs to be done, and being small compared to like a lot of these big companies in the market, it is easy for us to adapt, hire, outsource. What are all those strategic business decisions to be taken to ensure that like we are in the race, we are as competitive and agile as anybody else? That helps us because of the way we are structured as a company. AI is opening up a lot of opportunities. For example, the socks which we are launching. So that is something which we are actively pursuing. We are launching a security operations center globally, for example. No? So based out of India, based out of Dubai, based out of Abu Dhabi, based out of Saudi Arabia, based out of Mexico, and Uganda in Africa, and also in Tanzania. So what we are trying to do is like get a centralized dashboard, like, and we set up our security operations center, cyber security operations center, CSOCs, mostly focusing on the OT domain, in the sense like oil and gas, power utility. So cybersecurity is not limited to your IT systems anymore, right? So your critical infrastructure, your airports, your data centers, your traffic signaling, your railway signaling, everything is vulnerable to cyber attacks. So
Mm.
that's where we are launching our operation centers, working with regional partners. So without AI, it wouldn't be possible. So what it has opened up right now is a lot of things which were organic, so which was mostly licensing oriented, which was mostly geopolitical oriented. It is now giving us the same Netflix example. It is now giving us a unifying layer, an abstract layer where we can work across geographies, work across vendors, work across technologies to get this dashboard in our central system and get things done. No? So AI is like for us, for our business, I think it's a much awaited and welcome change where we are getting rid of a lot of I would say like parts with like elements which were giving us friction. Like this kind of automates the whole cybersecurity operations basically, right?
Mm.
So it would even come to a point where like in a few years your staffs also might be reduced. But again, then you need staffs, like you need people with skills who can like write better AI code, right? And technology is a process. Innovation is a process basically. It doesn't stop. And I'm sure like the only thing which can happen, which will remain constant, is you really need good brains to write these AI solutions, and you need much more smarter people to put this into right. See, at the end of the day, you need to monetize your business, right? So, like people who really deploy these resources, deploy like somebody who's spending money to buy a particular product or a solution, he needs to make it profitable. So that is where we come into picture. So and like we were fortunate to have a set of people with us. Like the team is as good as it can get, and they're always like one step ahead of the innovation curve.
Got it. What is your thought on cybersecurity and AI being an enabler for that? Because AI is now open source. Even the hackers can download their the open source models to their systems, and um, run major cybersecurity, major hacking operations, cyber attack operations. And because you are a system integrator, you can answer this better, because there are so many systems who are sitting at different geographies connecting to each other in real time. It's very easy also for hackers to probably locate the weakest part of the system and attack that, and hence at completely attack the entire network. And this is why probably a lot of banks have been apprehensive about, adopting cloud. They try to stay with their on-premise softwares. And also, what is your comment on that?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. Priya. Thanks for asking that. See, uh, two, three things, right? So again, let me give you a simple example, then I'll get to the complexity of this answer or question. See, when you do a ticket, right? When you buy a ticket, a flight ticket, right? You go to any of, say, MakeMyTrip, Goibibo, Expedia, wherever you go, no? So there is always a small thing you need to tick which says, okay, to insure your trip or your loss of luggage or whatever, you have to pay some 200 rupees extra, right? So in the big picture, you are probably spending like, say, 50,000 rupees for six, seven people, but you are not, most of the people I know, they are not really willing to click that, like, say, 500 to 600 tick mark, no? Which is like 1% of the whole thing. That is what right now is happening in the SM. I would again, okay. So you talked about on-prem solutions, cloud, and also let me put it. So there is no cookie cutter solution for the whole thing. No? So let me put it into three flavors. So let's start with SMBs, right? Which is
Hmm.
actually probably the most vulnerable because what happens to SMBs is they do not have their own IT staffs or like a robust enough ecosystem which can really cater to their cybersecurity, not let alone. So they buy it as a service normally. For example, like their IT is as good as like having Office 365 and they have internet connectivity like so from an ISP and they have somebody who is knowledgeable enough. I'm talking about real SMBs, huh?
Hmm.
The MSMEs and all, no? So they know somebody who can handle the systems and all, but that's what it is. They really do not have an IT budget per se, other than buying antivirus and buying Office 365, all those things. And there are like tens of millions of these kind of companies, and who is like a backbone of any economy these days globally, right? So now how do they address these problems? So let's look at this is one set of customers, and the second is like large enterprises, big companies, who are like amply staffed, amply supported by budgets, all those things. Then there is the government, right? So, but coming to the SMBs first, the real challenge, as I told you, is like so they really do not have enough resources. Or when I say resources, human power, human resources, or even financial budget. So our approach to solve their problem is deliver cybersecurity solutions to them as a service.
Hmm.
The way we're unticking or ticking that travel insurance, like which is like super small compared to the ticket cost you spend. So what we do is we work with partners who already has onboarded these customers for their IT, like whether it is like a maybe a bigger system integrator or maybe a core banking solution provider or even like a ISP or a telco, whoever. No? So we really go through aggregators to the SMBs, like kind of evangelize them or like educate them about the need to have this. They are ready once they understand, and most of them have already lost money and or information, which is even more critical, data which is even more critical for an SMB, right? So anyone for that matter. So our first, again, I'm trying to answer this question from a business point of view. So we have structured a business which is very successfully running even in some of the most premium markets like Dubai, some of the most important again I cannot take names here, but some of the most important brands you would see globally, their operations in Middle East are supported by our security operations center. So we sell them cybersecurity solutions as a service, MDR or your CISO, whatever, right? So that's one part of the story. And AI plays a very important role because what happens is um, all these assemblies, they will definitely have an ecosystem already, which is like mapped to a particular vendor or a particular legacy or whatever, right? It's not easy for you to disrupt their system. And you cannot just give them a pair of fiber or cable just to connect and your cybersecurity is up and running. No, it has a little bit of invasive engagement in the sense you need to install one, two, three, four, and it needs to really be backward compatible with whatever they have right now. That
Yeah.
is where our ability to work across all the vendors in the spectrum, we are vendor agnostic, that comes very handy in that case. So we sell security operations center SOC as a service to the SMBs. That's how we navigate that problem. Now, coming to large enterprises who are adequately staffed, budgeted, all those things, even they need help. But most of the time, they have their own RFP process. They know which vendor to go with X, Y, Z. We just help them re-emphasize the decision making and bring out like more, help them precipitate more like the risk involved in the next 5 years or long term, Once they are convinced, okay, this is the right partner to work with, what they do is they help us. They work. We help them. Sorry, we help them deploy the right solutions on premise, build it, and get into more of a OPEX support model, no operation support model. So that also is possible with large companies. Sometimes they take over the entire thing. We just can get involved whenever there is a need. But again, there also see what options a large customer has. No? So they have to definitely buy internet from an ISP. They have their own IT team. They are already being a large company. They already have their, like, say, baggage or like bells and whistles of existing vendors and all those stuffs. So what happens is they have vendor X and vendor Y, and trust me, it is almost impossible to unify and get things done. Especially the bigger your system is, the more complex your problem is. We come in, like, I wouldn't say as a cliche consultant, but we come in and create we automate the whole thing using software. We get like real-time scripts or, like, say, abstract layers done to solve a customer's issue. And like large on-prem deployments are done that way. I'll come to your real thing about on-prem and cloud comparison. But typically companies, it's like you can afford your own apartment, you buy your flat or your house and villa and you live there, right? If you
Mhm.
cannot afford that, you go for a rented apartment. That's what actually the SMBs do. They buy these solutions as a service, whereas a large customer or a large enterprise, they would spend their money, build their own IT ecosystem, and they take help from someone like us, a contractor, a technology contractor like us, to build that ecosystem, and we hand it over to them. And if there's a problem, we go and oversee things, no? Just like how a society works. Now, coming to government is probably like the largest spender in terms of they have any government for that matter, right? And especially in a country like India, where cybersecurity is very synonymous with national security at this point, right? So it's very, very critical. So every ministry, your bank, you name it, your treasury, everything is vulnerable because of the situation we are in. And it's very similar to, again, many other countries are facing. Again, we know ours better, but others know their problems better. So basically, there is, like, again, your cyber security decisions are not trivial. For example, uh, yeah, I cannot quote here because of sensitivity or confidentiality reasons. So whatever we are talking about as cutting edge right now or state of that right now,
Mhm.
our defense or our, like, security agencies, they have done that 20 years back, by the way, which is available to the common market right now, right? So once you start talking to the stakeholders for government, like they are like leagues away. They are like the real cream, the bureaucrats, like the administrative people, the
Mhm.
technical people, no questions. No, so like there's where really you get pushed to the limits, basically. So good thing about what is happening in India right now is it is very merit oriented, right? The more we talk to stakeholders
Mhm.
with respect to opportunities in government,
Mhm.
they really give you a level playing field, right? So they understand you are small, they understand you are nimble. I'm saying small and big is relative, but compared to, like, the usual heavy players in the market, right? But they listen to you, they give you a listening, and
Mhm.
it's very transparent, and the process is explained to you. And if you can comply, you do that. If not, you work with someone else. But once they see value in your the whole pitch, they find a way to kind of ensure that you are part of the system, purely merit oriented. So government, it's very, very, very sensitive. It's very, very, very there is no real, make fit solution for the government. Every department, every ministry has a different problem. They
Mhm.
have money, so typically they go with their own prem solutions, deployments and all. But solving those is not as straightforward as what you would do for a very classical large enterprise or a bank, actually, you know. So now, coming to security with respect to cloud, um, as long as you have the right servicing partner with you, I
Mhm.
think security on cloud is a well managed situation. It's like, for example, you're living in a rented apartment.
Mhm.
Like, do you feel insecure about being, hey, this is not, I don't own this thing? No, you really don't. Basically, you understand, like, this belongs to someone else, but you're secured. You take care of your, like, for example, say you get a boarding pass. That doesn't mean you can board the plane, right? You really need to go through certain filters. You really need to go to your security checkpoints, all those stuff. So, but
Right.
things are automated right now, which used to be much more organic. It is now through Digiyatra, for example. So that
Mhm.
exactly what AI brings onto the system. So it automates, it unifies your processes, your technologies, and it helps you more of a seamless experience as an end user. But to put those things together to make Digiyatra happen, I think that there's a lot of effort, and we are the guys who really get those things done in the kitchen. We are the guys who really ensure that like the right ingredients, right technology pieces are available to the key stakeholders so that they can offer something like a Starbucks, something like a Digiyatra, something like a Swiggy. So we do things in the background, right? So to a simple answer to your question, security on cloud environment, you really need to have a partner who
Mhm.
understands the details. Otherwise, yeah, there are risks involved. Obviously, when you get into something which you again, it's not only limited to cloud, for example, no, like anything, like anything which something. If you're used to your particular car, you used to drive your own car, and because of whatever reason you're hiring a driver, you're taking a risk. You're giving your key to someone else. No, but as long as you know the driver, as long as the driver comes with the right reference, as long as you have worked with him before, like you really need to go through your due diligence of onboarding your cybersecurity partner before you get into those kind of decision making. That's what I would say. But it is super safe and secure as long as you take the right partnership decisions. No.
Got it. All right. So I have one final question before we close. What is the vision or aspiration that you have as a company for the future? Because so much is happening recently. AI is everywhere. And without AI, you cannot function in a day-to-day basis. Being a technology being into any space, AI is an enabler. AI is a hygiene factor now. You have to do something around AI. Having said that, what is the vision, aspiration, and probably your predictions about the future?
That's right. So that's a good way to conclude, Priya. See, we are all ambitious, right? So we are in this business, we are in this entrepreneurial curve for a particular reason, right? So it's not only about creating wealth, I would say, because if that was the only thing, there are a lot of avenues open in the market, right? You can go for a high-paid job, all those stuff. So I would say, again, like where we are as a company right now, we are at an inflection point where some of the deals we pick up in the next 2 quarters globally,
Mhm.
some of the business we intersect in the next 2 quarters would decide exactly which is the orbit we are going to be placed in the next 2 to 3 years, right? So those decisions are being taken very consciously, very carefully, because we are actually in the teenage, we are in that like adolescent age as a company right now. It is very easy to make mistakes, right? It's very easy to get influenced, whether it is X, Y, Z factors. We really need help. We are talking to people who have done this before. We are talking to people who have made these mistakes, corrected themselves, became successful. Some of them unfortunately couldn't, but it's all about consulting, writing more conscious and collaborated decision. Now, where we would like to go, like what I would like to do is like build the next uh, biggest story out of India, nothing less than that. So that is more of a personal aspiration. Next, build the next, like be the probably one of the coolest brands in the global market when it comes to system integration, using AI as the enabler, focus on networking technologies, and nothing less than like being in the top three, right? If eventually, right? So uh, the opportunities are there, the market is there, the timing is as best as it can get. Now you just need to be very careful about your decisions. So not getting carried away, staying focused, and choosing the right partners is as a from the leadership point of view, that is actually something which is interested upon me and my team. And we have a team like basically like a workforce which is like as loyal as it can get and as committed as it can get, and they will execute. So we look forward to building something as credible as it can get, Priya. And I'm sure next time we talk, we have more stories to tell you.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to the next conversation. On this note, Suraj, we'll close the session. Thanks for joining. Pleasure having you on our platform, and our best wishes for the great company that you're building.
Thank you so much, Priya. And all the best to you too, and looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you.